Hey guys and girls, hello horror fans I should say. On this video I will be returning to the Child's Play franchise, and this is going to be my review of Child's Play 3. So first time I've returned to the Chucky franchise in quite a while, since October, since I did the first two movies. And you can find those two reviews, Child's Play 1 and 2, up on the channel now if you haven't checked them out yet. And I was pretty positive on both of those movies, especially the second one, but both are films that I quite enjoy. So Child's Play 3, it was released in 1991. Just a year after the second film, and that's sort of notable because I guess after the success of the first movie, they knew they had a potential franchise on their hands, and that they knew this was sort of a character they could run with, and there was a certain formula. And according to the trivia notes on Amazon, where I watched this film, it apparently says then the studio kind of coerced or pressured Don Mancini to write the script for this third film before the second film had even been released, which is quite something. So they must have been confident the second film was going to be a hit. So yeah, Don Mancini, the original creator, once again writes the script. And not to give too much away on my feelings, but I think maybe if he was rushed into doing it rather than giving time to really have an idea grow, then that might be some reasoning behind what we see in the film. It's directed by Jack Bender. And American viewers won't get the irony of that surname, but I'll steer clear of that. But Jack Bender, I should stop saying it really, but I'm going to make myself. Jack Bender, a guy I know, I recognised his name, and I remembered it was from Lost. He was one of the sort of writers and directors on Lost. Directed quite a few episodes of that, so it's a quite a steady hand, I think, genre wise. Not sure how many films he'd done, if this was like an early film for him, but he's the director anyway. And the story is then it's basically a Child's Play movie, except it's set at army camp. And from what we get at the beginning, it seems to have like done away with the continuity of the second film. It seems to have, the events of that seems to have been forgotten, and it's just referencing back to the original film. And because in this third film we now have Andy basically grown up, or at least he's a teenager, whereas he was a very young boy in the other two films. And it sort of references, the past and what happened with his mother and the events of the first film it references. But now Andy as a teenager is in army camp and looking to put back together the pieces of his life, trying to forget the past. It's referenced the fact that he supposedly had a breakdown and nobody believed him about Chucky. But as we quickly discover, Chucky is back alive and he's looking for Andy. Tracks him down to the army camp. And one choice they introduce in this film is that he actually targets a younger boy who, I guess in a way you could say is filling in for Andy. Well, not filling in, but sort of takes his place, the role Andy played in the other two films. So this character of Tyler, who's like a younger sort of cadet, Chucky sees him and goes after him because he, as he describes it, I've found fresher meat. And I think the other reason is him being a kid, like 8 years old or something. I think Chucky thinks, well, I can have my way with him a lot easier than I can with Andy. And so part of the twist to the plot this time is that Andy is essentially trying to protect Tyler from Chucky and trying to get to him before Chucky can do the whole soul game swap him. And for a lot of the film, Tyler's quite naive to Chucky, and that becomes the thing. And there's various other characters in the camp, so there you have the setup. Now, one thing I quite like, which they do at the start of the film, is that it kind of reflects on that the good guy dolls have been off the market for many years because of the incident with Andy and his mother and the killings. And so we have this board meeting, which is, I think, like the first scene of the film. And it's, well, the first scene apart from we get this sort of scene in the factory at the start, which I'll actually talk about in a minute because it's sort of worth talking about. But the scene after that is like this boardroom scene with all these like suits from like the factory that originally produced the dolls, and they're basically having this debate whether it's a good time to put them back on the market or if it would be smart to do so from a PR standpoint. And you've got this one character who's like opposed to it, but then you have this kind of sleazy like woman who's kind of just calling, saying, well, Andy was a nut job, or she doesn't use those words, but calls him like a crazy kid or something. And yeah, then you have this sleazy character, this sleazy like CEO, Solomon, his last name is, who, and because of the nature of the film and because of the whole thing, then they're obviously gonna go in favour of actually like bringing the good guy dolls back. So that's the thing, and that kind of leads to the first sort of killing. But yeah, I'll talk. I guess I quite like, even though I think at this point it feels quite contrived, this idea. Then, I mean, I guess if you do away with the events of the second film, because I mean, if you've got two films worth of Chucky like spreading mayhem and the killings, then you might say it's a bit far fetched to believe that everyone still thinks that Andy's like a loony and that he made this all up, or then it was in his head sort of thing. But I do actually quite like that they refer back to the earlier movies and they have this discussion. Now, this third film was straight to video at the time. It didn't get a cinema release, or if it did, it was a very small one. It was, but I remember hearing it was straight to video. So I think very much on the cheap they made it, and it really shows in the opening sequence where it obviously reveals that Chucky's still alive. So you just have like people cleaning up like the dolls and the kind of flesh from the floor of the factory, which obviously can. Yeah, although that's the second film, isn't it? So I think they must be acknowledging the second film, unless they're just trying to like merge the events of the second film into the first film, whatever. But anyway, you get this scene in the factory at the beginning, and there's one or two nice touches. There's like a bit where it cuts to like the water and Chucky like he's in like this sort of lava type thing, and you get like these sort of bubbles, and that's all right. You get like a whirlpool of blood. So it's not too bad. Although then you get some very generic sort of almost action type music um, over the credits. So that's maybe not so great. I think another thing to say is then also more trivia, because apparently John Ritter was supposed to appear in the movie. He was supposed to appear, I think, as a security guard in this factory scene. And I think that's obviously a fun fact, because John Ritter actually then appeared in the next film, Bride of Chucky, the fourth film, when where they went in a different direction. So interesting fact, and he almost appeared in this film, but the scene was cut. Now, I don't think much to this one. I think there is the problem of them just doing your typical like child's play film, but at an army base, because I think that inherently isn't that interesting, and I think you just get a lot of goofy like cat and mouse type moments with Chucky and the various characters, and I think it just becomes a conscious thing where they're trying a bit too hard to keep the whole thing like alive, but the cat is very much out of the bag. And because I don't think as a horror movie it's very suspenseful, because the previous two movies I think did have an atmosphere, and the direction was a lot more tighter, and the pacing a lot sort of better. So I think this one quickly descends into like this cheesy sort of like cat and mouse type movie, where I mean the cat's very much out of the bag, excuse the pun, because at this stage, the third movie, and it's very hard to keep this sort of fresh. And I don't necessarily think the idea of setting it at an army base is that sort of like interesting. I mean, in a way, it just could have been set anywhere. It's just this kind of typical like. Of course, he goes to an army base because it's this big thing in America, and this idea that he's trying to become a man. It's sort of a metaphor, because he's trying to put his like troubled like past as a boy behind him, and so there's all that stuff, and I guess it sort of heightens things, because not only do most of the people there not believe him about Chucky, um, it being quite a macho environment, they're gonna give him sort of shit. But the cat and mouse stuff is one problem. I think the other problem is then it's just like an awkward mix between this attempt at like horror and the comedy. And the comedy just isn't very good, apart from like I think accidental comedy, if you like. But I think there are kind of moments that are quite amusing, which probably make the film worthwhile. But I think it's gotten to the stage now with the Chucky character where he is just too goofy and cartoonish. And I mean, it seems an odd complaint, because obviously it's now gone to new heights, the characters, in many ways in the later film. I think partly because Mancini has kept the storytelling quite fresh and done different things. but also because he has made it entertaining. He's just really run with the premise and the idea of it being a more comedic character, but still kind of cool. I think that's the thing. I think in this movie, you never think that Chucky's that cool. He probably has one or two cool moments, but I think that some of the lines are just too on the nose, and I think a lot of times it doesn't really feel that much like Chucky. So I think it's just this awkward mix, although it would become successful by making him more comedic. I think this film just doesn't get the right balance. I think a lot of times it doesn't really feel like a Chucky sort of movie. And the other thing is, it is very cheap. It is, I think, at times, because the deaths are really weak. I don't think there's really a standout death. So I think a lot of times I got the impression they were just cutting around things, because maybe the budget was so sort of small and cheap. But I'll get to the end of the movie, because the ending really sucks. I have to say, the ending is just a total sort of mess. But there's this issue with the movie where it becomes like this over the top type action movie, which you sort of don't want from the Chucky movie. It sort of takes you out of it. Now, the first kill of the movie is quite interesting, because it's basically Chucky kills the CEO at the factory. Now, first of all, this is quite odd that this guy actually sleeps at his workplace, or maybe he's having an after hours drink in his office. I'm not too sure, but he's still in his office, and he's kind of, playing golf, and he's got the TV on. And I think this scene is a good example of why this film kind of doesn't work and is just kind of goofy and forgettable, because this whole scene, Chucky is like just messing with his head and playing with him, and he's kind of like turning the TV off, he's then moving the remote, just different things, and slowly things escalate. Now, one thing I do like about the scene, the best part of the scene, is then at one point, Chucky, because he's got all these toys in his office, and Chucky actually like starts playing with them and kind of brings them to life. And this is obviously before he's seen Chucky. So that's actually quite a cool idea. The fact that obviously Chucky's like a doll, and you've got all these other toys, and they're, as far as he can tell, they're kind of coming to life, or he certainly doesn't know what's going on. So I quite like that sort of visual, this kind of like kingdom or army of toys seemingly coming to life. But the rest of it is just kind of dumb, because Chucky slowly like almost like kills him. It's just different little things like hitting him, like I think in the balls with like his golf club, or something like that. And we get an example of one of his like silly lines, like "Don't fuck with the Chuck" sort of thing. Yeah, pretty weak stuff. And bullseye is another one. They're almost like more like catchphrase, but yes, certainly not very very sort of cool. And he sort of tops it up. He chokes him with the yo-yo string. Pretty lame stuff, I have to say. And then he looks up Andy on the computer, and that's where he gets the address. Now, I have to question this logic, because would they really have Andy's, the fact his information like this on the computer at this toy company? Well, I don't know how they would get that, or why they would want that particularly. Apart from obviously knowing about the thing and the public image. I don't know why they particularly care about Andy. So that's a little sort of contrivance just to get Chucky the information and to have him like tracking him down. Now, I think there is some fun stuff at the army base. I'll just say the female like lead in this, De Silva, her name is, who's one of the cadets, and she kind of becomes like a love interest for Andy. And she's not a bad sort of character. She's quite sort of like independent and sticks up for Andy, and actually kind of it is a nice character and sort of rebels a little bit against like the authority there. But she's played by Perry Reeves, who was on an episode of X-Files in the second season. I was trying to figure out where I'd seen her or seen the name, and quite early in the second season. And I remember because it's one of the episodes where you don't have Scully, and I remember hearing then the character dated like David Duchovny in real life at this time. Probably how she got the pass. And this is a few years before that, so she's obviously a bit younger than that, but I sort of recognised her, and yeah, I think they could have done a bit more with her character and the relationship with Andy, but this film it's chopping about a lot of things, but she's not too bad. There's quite a fun scene, because you get this really like this sort of bossy bully, Colonel Shelton, his name is, who's like just one of the older cadets, or one of the older like soldiers who's now taking the cadets for training, and she actually sticks up for like it's either Andy or like the other guy when Shelton's bullying him, and she calls him an arsehole, and the funny thing is that when he says, "What did you say?" sort of thing, or "What did you call me?" and she says, "I said arsehole, sir." And then he sort of gets her to do 25 push-ups, but it's kind of this act of defiance, the fact that she does the push-ups gladly, because at one point he's like one-handed like for the last two, and she does that, and it's almost like the fact that she didn't get perturbed and she just did them, and she obviously got the shot in with the called him an arsehole to his face. So it's quite a cool little scene, and there's some funny like cheesy stuff with him. He's actually quite an entertaining sort of bully, because he's calling like Andy a dickweed and what have you, and he's calling like cadets Nimrods and stuff, and he kind of says, "That's Colonel Shelton to you, arsehole." So some pretty fun swearing. So there's stuff around the base, and there's some quite fun stuff with Chucky and with Tyler. That's the name, the young kid Tyler. I think maybe the dialogue of the whole film is when he first sees Chucky and Chucky pops out, and Chucky, this sort of classic Chucky, "Who the fuck are you?" And Tyler's like, "I thought you guys only said 3 sentences." And I think Chucky says "new and improved" or something like that. And actually, the best Chucky line of the movie is because he's meant to be delivered to Andy sort of thing, and Tyler kind of like intercepts it and says, "Oh, I'll take it to Andy," but he opens it out of curiosity. So Chucky says at one point, "Messing with the mail is a Federal Express or offence, sorry, kid." But you have to question again some logic here, because for a long time, as I said, Tyler just goes along with this. He's just happy to play with Chucky and thinks that he's his friend. I know it's a young kid, but I mean he's not that young. Surely he knows that you don't get like lifelike talking dolls. Um, so he doesn't even seem freaked out by Chucky for a long time, and he sort of rather go naive goes along with it. And I think this is the problem with the film, is then Chucky obviously tries to trick him into this game, so that they can do the soul thing. And so it just becomes this things where you get like contrivances to kind of stop it from happening, but then it'll go back to it later on in the film. So at one point, the like the captain of the base, sort of catches like Tyler playing with Chucky, and obviously he's like, yeah, if you want to be a man, you don't play with dolls, sort of thing. So he ends up taking Chucky away and putting it in like the garbage sort of thing, in like the trash compactor. And that's kind of the next kill, because like the garbage guy like hears Chucky and thinks it's like a regular person, so he then goes inside, and Chucky sort of tricks him and comes out, and then he's actually working the thing and crushes him. But again, we don't see too much. It kind of cuts away very quickly. But there's this whole thing where obviously the cadets sort of see it. But there is some fun with the characters around the base. You get like the creepy sort of barber guy who just enjoys like shaving their heads. And that's a familiar actor, actually. He's like this sort of familiar like character actor. And he's always going around asking, when was the last time you had your hair cut? And he's again very hard ass. But yeah, there's stuff like his sort of death, because he's trying to he just finds Chucky in like the barber shop, and he actually treats him like he's a living thing, because he starts talking to him and says, "Okay, I'm gonna cut your hair," and Chucky like ends up sort of slitting his throat. So some of the character stuff is quite amusing. It's just that Chucky feels like this watered down version of Chucky. The kills are very sort of weak. They're kind of watered down. They're not really that original. And I think, as I said, part of the thing is that it does become like this sort of action movie at times, which is kind of all over the place. What else do we have? There's probably not a great deal. I think as I said, you just get these cheesy Chucky one-liners at one point. Because at one point, De Silva, or I think Kirsten, her real name is, she's kind of looking at Andy's file. She's with another female cadet because she's taken a liking to Andy and wants to know a bit more about him. And so they look at his file, and that's when she realizes, oh, he's been in foster home, moved about a lot. But they actually catch Tyler with Chucky in the cupboard. So again, another reason to kind of break that sort of up before it goes too far. And they're nice to Tyler, but they kind of have a laugh at his expense. And then they start putting lipstick on and stuff like that. It's just kind of silly stuff, which doesn't really do anything for the film. But it just leads to Chucky saying, "This means war," when they go out, when they leave. But it all builds to this kind of stupid, like, sort of, and this is where it really becomes like action movie type thing, because you've got like this kind of like, I guess, like this sort of like fictional type thing. Oh, and the captain kind of dies with a heart attack when Chucky like surprises him. So there's all that. That's kind of, whatever. But you kind of get like the red cadets against the blue cadets in this thing, and earlier on, like Chucky swaps like the bullets for, I think it's the red cadet. I can't remember the other side from what Andy's on basically, but he swaps out their bullets because they're using paint for the sake of it being like a fake sort of thing. But he swaps their paint for like real bullets. And this is actually where I like the notes on Amazon, because that sort of reveals then that's a continuity error, because in reality, if you did that swap, it would actually disable the guns. It wouldn't actually shoot, because apparently those particular guns are just set up just to fire paint. They wouldn't fire real bullets. So that's the whole thing. But obviously Chucky being Chucky, he swaps them out because he's hoping Andy will get in the crossfires, I guess it is his thinking. But yeah, you get this whole contrived plot that they're at the sort of base camp, and Andy, or that they're at like the camp, and Andy gets closer to De Silva, that they kiss, and you get this whole thing where Andy's basically looking for Tyler, and he sort of steals the map so he can try and find him, because Tyler's meant to be on the other side. And it leads to this drama where they just think Andy's like betrayed them and that he's working for the other side. They don't realise obviously what's really going on. And this is where the movie gets really dumb, because he kidnaps De Silva. He's got a sort of that gun. Well, he's actually got a grenade, and he jumps on her first of all, which looks really fucking stupid. And he's got a grenade in her face, and he radios like the camp, and obviously it's only like Andy and Tyler who know then, hey, it's a killer doll, so you don't mess with this guy. But they obviously, the other guys just think it's a regular guy who's like making threats. But he basically kidnaps De Silva and says, you're only going to get her back if you give me Tyler. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely, it's like this action movie plot, and just this idea that she couldn't like just hit Chucky, just knock him away, because okay, he's got a grenade, but even so, you'd think she'd maybe chance it. She'd sort of whack him, because if she did it fast enough, she would probably be all right, or she could maybe at least chance, and she might sort of get away. But it just looks silly. That's the problem. And I think the idea that he overpowers her in the first place. Not saying, because obviously I think he's meant to have the strength of a guy within this body, but even so, it just looks a bit silly, I think, visually. So it becomes this whole action scene where then the other side show up, and of course they don't realise they've got real bullets, so they actually start shooting. And the annoying bully character, the colonel or the captain, whatever his title is, he gets shot. And at first they're all blaming Andy the scene, you set this up, sort of thing, and that they haven't even realised what Chucky is. But things escalate, and Chucky then chases Tyler down to like this fairground nearby, and you get this whole shootout in like this House of Horrors thing, and it's crap. The scene in the House of Horrors is really, really terrible. It's just like this mismatch of like set pieces. It's all over the shop. It's it's just so silly, just so lame. And it's builds to this moment with Andy where he's meant to finally kind of get over his nerves in a way, and he actually shoots Chucky, and that's meant to sort of be a big sort of moment. And eventually Chucky falls down from this thing high up, and he gets like chopped up sort of thing, and that's kind of it. And Andy gets arrested. Now, I don't quite get this. I don't know if it's because like the cadets and the people at the thing have said he was violent and he set this thing up, although they can't really prove that. I don't know if it's because he was shooting in the House of Horrors. I mean, that could have been it, but even so, there were shots back and forth, and he didn't actually kill anyone in the House of Horrors apart from Chucky, which kind of doesn't really count because. So I don't actually know. I mean, maybe there's enough to say he was acting erratically, or maybe they're just taking him in because they don't believe him, and he comes across as insane. I really don't know, but it was kind of ridiculous. I didn't really get the whole thing with him being arrested, but again, it's just meant to be one of those endings again, where I guess now it's like consciously setting up a sequel, just because once again they don't believe him. So I guess it's easier to keep the whole thing alive if the universe of the film, essentially outside of Andy and a few other people, don't know then this thing is real. But it felt like a bit of a random ending. It's like they defeated Chucky, but Andy still gets arrested, and you don't really get a satisfying ending with him and Da Silva, because she gets taken to the hospital because Chucky shot her in the leg. And she says to Andy, "Are you going to be okay?" And he says, "Don't worry, I've been here before." And that's kind of it, but I think you just expected a bit more of a like happy ending with those two. I mean, I guess maybe they're going to stay in touch, but I guess it's possible they might not see each other again. But whatever, it's no sort of big deal. But the ending I did think was a bit random. Because I think for most of the film, it's a bad film, definitely. It's kind of throwaway and stuff, but it's never a terrible film. I think it becomes a much worse film in the final act, where all this shit starts happening. But I'll give it 4 out of 10. It's sort of alright. I think it's one that's worth watching just to say you've seen it and tick it off, and just to have it. And there is some fun to be had. I think overall it's definitely a weaker film. It doesn't feel enough of a Chucky film for me. I think that's a complaint. And I think you can tell it got to the stage where 3 is enough, unless they're going to do something a bit different. But it's not terrible. There's terrible scenes in it, particularly near the end. There's some fun to be had, so I've certainly seen worse, but luckily, kind of starting from the next film, we do get that change, that shake up in the formula that you kind of needed. But 4 out of 10's where I'm going to go with this one. So that's my review of Child's Play 3. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. And I will return soon with the 4th Chucky movie, which is of course Bride of Chucky, referencing the classic Bride of Frankenstein, where, as I said, they do sort of have a change in direction. And I'll be reviewing Bride of Chucky soon, but I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.